On a quiet summer evening in August 2018, something surreal unfolded in the skies above Seattle. A man, an airport ground agent, stole a commercial airplane from Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. He wasn't a trained pilot. He wasn't a criminal. He didn't want to hurt anyone. What followed was one of the most bizarre and heartbreaking aviation events in modern history. Broadcast live, heard in real time, and forever remembered. This is the story of Richard Russell, also known to the internet as SkyKing. 1. The man behind the myth. Richard "Rich" Russell was 29 years old. He worked at Horizon Air as a ground service agent. The kind of guy you'd see out on the tarmac, loading luggage, towing planes, operating pushbacks. By all accounts, he was friendly, positive, known for his dry sense of humor and goofy YouTube cooking videos. He lived in Sumner, Washington, with his wife. He loved video games, loved making breakfast creations on camera, loved being around planes. His co-workers described him as funny and hardworking. No criminal record. No history of erratic behavior. In fact, if you passed him on the street, he would have looked like just another guy. But Rich had one secret, a deep curiosity for flying. Over years of working around aircraft, he quietly observed everything. He listened to pilots. He watched cockpit procedures. He studied how aircraft moved, turned, and responded. It turns out, he was learning more than anyone realized. 2. The flight. August 10, 2018. Just after 7 p.m. Rich reported for a normal shift at Seattle-Tacoma. But something was different. Around 7:30 p.m., he casually boarded a parked Horizon Air Bombardier Q400. No passengers. No flight plan. No clearance. He started the engines, taxied to the runway, and took off. It was unprecedented. A man with no pilot license had just stolen a 76-seat commercial turboprop plane. The control tower was stunned. NORAD immediately scrambled two F-15 fighter jets from Portland. But by the time they were airborne, Rich was already up and away, flying smoothly over the waters of Puget Sound. And then, he started talking. Calm, polite, even humorous. Rich spoke with air traffic control like they were old friends. "Yeah, I just kinda want to do a couple maneuvers, see what it can do before I put her down, you know? I've got a lot of people that care about me. It's gonna disappoint them to hear that I did this. I'm just a broken guy, got a few screws loose, I guess. Never really knew it until now." He apologized. He cracked jokes. He asked if he could get a job as a pilot after this. But behind his voice was pain. A mix of regret and release. And then came the moment that no one expected. Rich pulled the plane into a barrel roll. A complete 360-degree roll. Something that's nearly impossible in a Q400. He flipped the aircraft, rolled it, and leveled out just feet above the surface of the water. Even experienced pilots watching online were stunned. The plane, by design, should have stalled, broken apart. But Rich had perfect control. "I didn't know it could do that," he said, laughing. And for a brief moment, it almost felt like he was flying just for the joy of it. For that one barrel roll, it was as if he wasn't lost. He was free. 3. The why. So, why did he do it? Richard didn't leave a note. No manifesto. No dramatic online post. But during that hour in the sky, he spoke. And in his voice, we heard something deeper than words. He sounded lonely, tired, like someone who had been holding it together for a long time. Until one day, he simply couldn't anymore. Mental health experts later suggested he may have been suffering from what's called high-functioning depression, or smiling depression. The kind of sadness that hides behind jokes, behind a work uniform, behind an "I'm fine" that never really means fine. And when the world listened to those recordings, something unexpected happened. The internet responded with shock, but also with empathy. People began calling him SkyKing. Not to glorify the act, but to honor the struggle behind it. Songs were composed. Digital murals painted. Some called him a rebel. Others saw a tragic symbol of a broken system, of ignored pain, of a man reaching out the only way he knew how. The memes weren't mocking. They were mourning. Subtle montage of memorials, slow fades between headlines and online art. The truth is, we may never fully understand what was going through Rich's mind that night. But one thing is certain. He never meant to hurt anyone. He made sure the skies were clear. He apologized again and again. And when it was time, he chose a place to end it all, where no one else would be harmed.
4. The end of the flight.
Around 8:45 p.m., after more than an hour in the air, Rich turned the nose of the plane toward Ketron Island, a small, heavily wooded island tucked away in Puget Sound.
Quiet, uninhabited, peaceful.
As air traffic control gently urged him to consider landing safely, Rich began to fall silent. His voice, once calm and joking, grew distant. And then, there was only the sound of the engines. The aircraft began to descend. Not into a city,
Not toward people, but into the trees. A sharp dive.
a crash in the woods. No buildings were struck. No civilians were harmed. Richard Russell was the only one on board. And he died instantly.
The flight was over.
For some, it was the end of a heartbreaking chapter. For others, it opened up questions that may never fully be answered. How did we miss the signs? Could anything have been done to prevent it? Or was this a man who had already made peace with his decision long before that plane ever left the ground?
5. Legacy.
Richard Russell wasn't a terrorist.
He wasn't a threat.
He wasn't looking to hurt anyone. He was a young man, gentle, funny, and thoughtful, with pain hidden behind a smile that most people took at face value. His story sent ripples far beyond Seattle-Tacoma, across aviation, across media, and across every space where quiet pain goes unnoticed. After the incident, aviation security was reviewed. How could someone without a license get a plane into the air? But something more important was reviewed too.
The mental health of airport staff.
The emotional toll of being fine every day, no matter what's really going on inside. And finally, people started talking.
About wellness. About loneliness.
About what it really means to be surrounded by people, and still feel completely alone.
Studio microphone.
Rich didn't plan to become a symbol.
He didn't start a movement. But in his final flight,
he became a voice for those too quiet to be heard. A symbol of unseen sadness. A reminder that mental illness often wears a smile.
And a call to check in.
Really check in on the people around us. In the digital world, his story didn't disappear.
The myth of SkyKing lives on.
But behind that nickname was a real man. Richard Russell.
A husband. A loyal worker.
A guy who made funny breakfast videos on YouTube. A man who, for one unforgettable evening, took control of something far bigger than himself. And in doing so, left behind a question we're still trying to answer. How many others are silently flying through life, on autopilot, just waiting for someone to notice? Closing message. Richard's story isn't just about a plane. It's about all the things we don't say.
About the people who seem okay, but aren't.
About how sometimes, a quiet pain can grow so large, it bursts in ways no one sees coming. So if there's one thing we can all do, it's this.
Reach out.
Ask the uncomfortable questions.
Be present.
And remind people often that they matter. Thank you for watching this story. If it moved you, please leave a like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear it. What do you think of Richard Russell's flight? Let us know in the comments below.